All right, would-be host Kevin Hart says he is moving past the Oscar debacle, but the show must go on, maybe without a host altogether. What would that look like? And if anyone knows, it might be Michael Schneider, senior editor with Variety. He joins us now. And you know what? Hi. This could be a big deal to have no host Oscars. Has that happened before?
Unless, what are you guys doing on February 24th?
Oh, gladly.
Yes.
Exactly.
But to answer your question, it has, in 1989, do you guys remember the Oscars where Rob Lowe opened the show, sang this awful song along with someone dressed up as Snow White? It's considered one of the biggest debacles, not just in Oscar history, but I think in television history.
God, what a horrible thing to have as part of your life.
That's to be that ingrained.
He redeemed himself with West Wing.
Exactly. Exactly, but it took years for the Oscars to live that down. So I don't think they're going to do that this time, although it would be hysterical if they reenacted that. But I think what they will do instead is just bring on like a groupings of celebrities. They'll sort of power through without one anchor.
About that?
Although it's fortunate, it's not what they wanted. It's not what anyone wanted. I think the Academy boggled this. I think there was probably opportunities early on to find some hosts.
It also seems nobody wants the job. Why is that?
Well, it's a catch-22.
Yeah.
So if you're an A-lister, you don't want that job. There's no benefit. You know, you could only fall on your face.
That's
exactly.
Right.
Now there are great hosts out there, but they wanted A-listers. So
how about like the comedians, the late-night hosts?
Well,
what about Billy Crystal?
Bring him back. Jimmy Kimmel did a great job the past 2 years, I have to say. I love Jimmy Kimmel. I thought he was fantastic, but he sort of said, been there, done that. The ratings continue to decline, and the host is always blamed for that as well. So even he's like, okay, I've done this 2 years, now find someone else. So he passed up on it. And they've had some great hosts in the recent past also, like Ellen. Same thing to some degree. Been there, done that. She's busy. She doesn't need to do this. You know, she's got a full-time, daytime job.
When she went out and advocated for Kevin Hart on her show, was that a big debacle as well?
It backfired.
Huge debacle. It was, you know, one that I think everyone was hoping that he would rehabilitate himself, that Ellen would help him, but instead it ended up, he really was sort of defensive, and it was all about him.
And she went out on a limb to do that.
Yeah, and the community, the LGBT community, was not happy with that.
With either of them. I think to some degree they thought that Ellen was being a little too much of an apologist as opposed to helping him sort of understand what he said was wrong and how maybe he should have been a little more contrite. And it looked like two out-of-touch celebrities.
Well, speaking of apologies, you know, what do you make of this whole thing with Kevin Hart, right? Because initially, you know, they found these tweets. He said he wasn't going to apologize, but then he ended up apologizing in the tweets after he gave up the job. Now he's apologizing more. I mean... Or
he wasn't apologizing enough.
Or the right way. So what's your read on how much do you... Can you ever apologize enough for what you said when it was what he said?
I think there's a right way to apologize, and the problem is he was defensive for too long, and then quickly apologized, but then ultimately, again, sort of retreated back to the defensive mode of, you know, you can't say anything anymore in Hollywood.
Remind people of the tweets that he got in trouble for again, and it was the stand-up routine as well.
Yeah. So there are tweets and also stand-up routine from about 10 years ago that were very homophobic. There was one in particular, I think a routine that he used to do where he said, you know, basically I would beat my son if he turned out to be gay. You know, some really disturbing and troubling routines and also comments that, you know, he has removed from his act, and he has sort of since then said, I've grown as a person. But the fact that he never quite apologized, or he said he apologized in the past, but no one could ever find those old apologies.
There's another tweet of his apology, and you know, here it is. Made the choice to step down from this year's Oscars, sincerely apologized. But you still feel like that's not executed properly enough to get him out of.
Would the Academy? I got the impression that the Academy was open to it. Did you get that sense as well?
I think there was a brief window where they may have been open to it again, but then he sort of stepped in it, partly on the Ellen show, but also in sort of retreating back to this defensive nature and making it about him and him being attacked as opposed to just saying, listen, I've grown as a person. There are ways to do this, but from the very beginning, when you know, when this controversy first started, he put up an Instagram video where, you know,
it was bizarre.
He refused to apologize, and he claimed that he had apologized in the past. No one could ever find those apologies. Yeah,
oh my gosh,
he did not help himself from the start.
We're getting a hard count, so we're going to let you go, but come back.
But we love having you here.
Anytime.
All right.
Yeah, I'll see you guys soon.